I think with it being such an individual sport, I just like the idea of I can create my own narrative. I'm able to tell some sort of story at the end. So I got my first call up in 2021, and as a 17-year-old, it's like I can't speak for everyone, but for myself, I literally just froze. Obviously, I had full faith in it, but there's the odd occasional thoughts where it was like, is this going to work and whatnot? Last year, the 2023 athletic season was literally the toughest, both physically and mentally. I was close to just mentally signing out of the season. I think the positives I can take from these past couple months is the fact that I'm still able to stay strong and stay true to the course no matter what. But I know for myself, once I'm healthy and everything comes into play, the right things will happen.
Jason, you have previously said to us that you are enthusiastic, creative, confident,
Hmm.
and expressive. So, with that in mind, I was wondering, have your experiences in sprinting helped to develop those characteristics? And what are your main positive takeaways from the athletics community as a whole, would you say?
Um, I think I think with it being such an individual sport, I just like the idea of I can create my own narrative, and with every competition, with every performance, I'm able to tell some sort of story at the end. And that's what I love about the most, because I can make it all up, because it's such because like I said, track and field is so individual. You can make it all about you, and you're the author of your own story, like with any other sport. But what makes it so great is you can create your own season, you can create your own narrative. It's not like other team sports where you have to attend so and so fixture and do whatever, and then if you don't perform, that's the narrative that you're being run with. But with track, it's like, okay, cool. I can compete here. I can compete for this meet and do whatever. And how I perform, no matter what, I can just take something from that and then go from there. I think the more I got, I think the more I got in tune with this sport, and the faster and the more confident I got, I was able to express it in such a unique way that allows me to be me, instead of me being like a false persona in this sport.
Yeah, totally. And obviously, because I know you've been really passionate about being a GB athlete for such a long time. So for you to finally reach that milestone and to actually become a GB athlete, what was that like for that dream to eventually become a reality, would you say? And what were the key steps that helped you get to that milestone?
Um, so I got my first call up in 2021, practically basically 3 years ago, which is insane. So I got my first call up then, and as a 17-year-old, it's like, wait, I'm actually being called up, because it's one of those things where you say it a lot, but you don't know whether it actually will happen. So
Mm.
for me, when it just happened, like any other normal person at that age or at that time period where you get your first call up, I can't speak for everyone, but for myself, I literally just froze. Only because it felt so unreal at the time, and especially it being locked down and all the behind the scenes preparations we had to do for it. It just felt so amazing. And for context, obviously we just came out of lockdown the year before. That year, I was practically training myself and two other athletes throughout that whole season, and just trying to find our footing within a weird lockdown year. Managed to run myself a personal best in 100, break 11 seconds for the first time, which for me was like a big milestone, because sub 11 for me was something I wanted for a long while, especially growing up, and being one of the fastest under 18s for my age group at that time. Ended the season two in the country, and then moving to a completely new system. Yeah, moving to a completely new system, which obviously opened a lot of doors for the foreseeable future. But that whole moving groups thing was just is this going to work? Obviously, I had full faith in it, but there's the odd occasional thoughts where it was like, is this going to work and whatnot? And then with lockdown happening for like the third time now, coming out of it and doing all that training behind the scenes during lockdown and whatnot, the dark nights, the snowing nights. And then it was like, okay, we come out of it, we open up. And I think for me, the scariest thing was opening up in a new system and it being locked down. But I was fortunate enough to run a personal best. And because of that, I was able to put myself on the Futures Relay program and an extension, getting my first junior call up. So for me to do all of that within my first year of a new system just felt unreal. And it was just like, I thought it was going to be a thing of, okay, it's going to take me a while to find my foot in and whatnot and be like, and get into all these big teams. But obviously with the system I'm currently in, and I had a lot of and I still have, and I had a lot of good training partners and whatnot, people to push me in training day in, day out. It wasn't a thing of I was fully surprised, but I was still surprised at the same time. So I'd say the steps in order for me to get there was literally just full faith and confidence, being able to put my everything into training, whether that's just showing up, eating well when I could, getting the right recovery in, and literally just putting my 100% into everything so I leave with no regrets. And I still maintain that mindset to this day because for me, it's such a simple sport. Obviously, everyone has their different training philosophies, but it's one of those ones where it's like, if you could just show up, eat well, recover well, do what you need to do maximally, I genuinely think you'll reap the full results out of what you do in training if you just live the right lifestyle for it. And I think for me that was a I think for me that season especially, obviously I made the team the year after, but for me that year was just a true testament to, if I put my all into this and I fully believe in the program, this is what I can get out of it.
100%. And I love what you said earlier when you said trying to eat well where I can. That's such a difficulty for so many people. But
Because I'm not gonna lie to myself
no,
here and
no,
be
of
like,
course
okay,
not.
cool, I'm the most healthiest eater out there, but I'll still preach it when I can and just give myself those healthy reminders from time to time to be like, okay, cool, I can have these at certain times, but when it's time for me to actually eat eat certain foods, I'll do so.
Yeah,
Because
100.
I know for me, you could do all the training in the world, but if you have a bad diet, it will creep into your performance.
Totally. Yeah. So when you look at where you were this time last year, let's just say, how would you say you've progressed since then, and what ways have you progressed from this time a year ago?
Yeah, so what I can remember this time last year, I undergone a 2 week break. Funny enough, after my birthday, because I had like a nagging quad and hip flexor problem, so I had to go see physio to get that sorted and whatnot. I think last year, 2023 athletic season was literally the toughest, both physically and mentally, because the indoor season for me didn't go well. Obviously, the indoor season didn't go well just due to a lack of self belief. So that obviously impacted my performances. And when it was time for me to actually perform well and I was actually in good shape, because the mental wasn't there, I wasn't able to replicate that with the physical. So my whole thing was, I'm not gonna doubt myself any longer. The outdoor season's here. The goal was European Under 23 Athletics Championships, and I can't afford myself to put myself in such a degrading position anymore and just go all out. But I had constant calf issues and whatnot, which I didn't get that sorted. And then what happened was that I got injured a week before BUCS. I almost got injured a week before BUCS. That whole week of BUCS was literally just trying to rehab myself as fast as possible, get myself back into shape. But I thought I can be back in time and put myself amongst the medals. Unfortunately, I didn't. But because of how far my potential was, I managed to make the final and whatnot. And then from there, it just became a barrage of minor inconveniences with my hamstring. So I think this time last year, I just wasn't smart and careful enough with my recovery because all in my head I was thinking I need to compete, I need to get back in time for Europeans. And because I had to take too much, I had to set back too many times, it just played an obvious impact on my mental to the point where I think this time last year, I was close to just mentally signing out of the season because one, obviously by then Europeans is already gone. I didn't make the team. When it came to the national trials, I didn't do too well because I still then wasn't careful with my recovery. So I made a vow to myself to be like, all right, cool. One, I'll make sure that my mental's in check. Two, I won't over recover or do too much with my recovery. And three, put myself in every sort of position possible, whether it's my sleep, whether it's my diet, and just showing up to training and not overthinking things too much. Because we all know that training's never competition, and I'm well aware of that. But there's been times where it would creep up to the point where it's like, oh, if I'm not having a good session, would that impact my performance? Or if I'm having to miss sessions because I'm not recovered properly or because I need to get back in time for a certain competition and whatnot, I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't take those recovery procedures. So for me, it was just about wanting to be more sensible as a whole. That was kind of like my whole goal. Despite the fact that I'm coming off a major injury, which which happens in this sport, you're just gonna have to deal with it. But I'd say for the most part, looking back on it, I think I've definitely learned from those mistakes, and I'm a lot more sensible now all around. Like if even now, if I'm having like some sort small minor issue, and I'm thinking, okay, cool, I may have a competition this week, or I can afford to go back to training because it feels fine. I'll maybe take an extra day or two just to recover, just to play on the safe side, because you just never know.
100%. But obviously, injuries and all of that aside, when you look at the positives of these past few months and from this season so far, what would you say the main positives have been from your past few months competing or training?
To know that it's always going to be there, and the better I, the better my externals are in terms of recovery, in terms of doing the rehab, recovering, eating well, whatever. I know that I'm going to be. I know that what's it called? I'll be back as soon as possible, despite what the physio could say and whatever, and despite and even if even if at times I'm doubting myself, I still know that that overwhelming um that overwhelming faith will still take over those small little doubts here and there. So I think the positives I can take from these past couple months is the fact that I'm still able to stay strong and stay true to the course no matter what. Cool. Didn't make you didn't get the standard for European seniors, fine, whatever. Didn't go Olympic trials in my marquee event due to me not being able to come back on time. Cool, whatever. That's fine. Did I medal at national championships just gone? No. But I still hold my head up high and still remain strong that I can still make ends meet for myself this season, and then even moving forward for next season, I can do absolutely more better, absolutely so much better than what I've done for myself this year. And it's not even to say that this year's been an absolute disaster, even even with the injuries, because I still, for me personally, it's still better than last year. I was still miles better than last year. Obviously, it hasn't shown on paper, but I know for myself, once I'm healthy and everything comes into play, the right things will happen when it does. So it's literally just this year's these whole past couple of months have literally just been testing my patience and just testing who I really am as a person in times of adversity. So it's more of a character thing than okay, what has the performance has shown.
Yeah, 100%. Because a lot of it is to do with where you are mentally. I mean, and it's so good that you have that attitude as well. I mean, as you say, like, yes, there was that disappointment that you haven't medaled, and yes, there was that disappointment that your season hasn't necessarily gone the way you would have possibly liked for it to have gone. But you're still holding your head high, and you're still aiming for the next few big things. So, and that makes such a big difference to how you're going to progress in the next few months and even years with that attitude. So, and very finally, Jason, you've just graduated from university, so you're now into the well, I was going to say you're now into the working world, but you might go into the working world, you might do a bit more studying. I mean, who knows yet at this rate? You've even been teasing it online. Like we don't know what you're going to do yet. So, with that in mind, then, whatever it is you decide to do, how do you think athletics is gonna factor into your life from here on in? Now that you've finished uni.
The thing is, obviously, at the end of the day, it's the jobs I apply for, and it's um my own destiny to make. So I do well believe that I'm able to get a graduate scheme slash graduate job in the world of marketing that I'll be able to still I'll be able to still train and do everything that's normal and just go from there. I just think for myself, if I use my connections wisely and just talk to the right people or just go out of my way to actively and continuously search and instead of trying to wait for things to come back to me, if I keep pressing on the right job firms, if I keep trying to build my own individual experiences, I still well believe that I'm able to get into certain firms. So with athletics in mind, I'm not really trying to overcomplicate it too much. I know it'll be difficult if I go into like a full-time job, whatever, but I have a lot of people around me that are currently in that experience, that have currently shared that experience and how they go about certain things. So um I know that it will be difficult, but at the end of the day, I'm just gonna have to get ready for adaptation and change and whatnot. Because I am able to work my way around certain things, and in this and especially if I'm not sponsored or whatever, I can't be a full-time track athlete just yet anyways. So for me it's literally just getting ready for some sort of adaptation, that sort of change in my life and whatnot, and I can just go and progress from there. So I'm ready for whatever, despite the fact that I know it's going to take some sort of toll. But for me, if I don't overcomplicate things physically and mentally to think, oh, I'm tired, I'm not in good shape to train today because of work, whatever. If I just think to myself, if I show up and get the work done and do what I can within that sort of difficult environment, I still know that I'll be able to perform as well. There's multiple examples of people that have managed to make ends meet despite the fact that um, they're in full-time working environments and whatnot. So it's not a thing of it being hard, ridiculously hard or impossible. It's literally just how dedicated are you to making everything work around you.
Yeah, 100%. Because my brain has gone blank, but there's that accountant, isn't there? That's a sprinter as well. I forgot what
Eugene,
he's called.
yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he is a prime example of someone that's making it work, full-time working, full-time competing, essentially. So, like it is possible. So, obviously, it's going to be a brand new journey for you to go on. But yeah, once you get to grips with wherever it is you're going, then obviously you can make a plan for yourself and then work it out from there. So, which I have every faith that you will do, Jason. I'm sure that you will work it out in one way or another. So I'm not even concerned about that in the slightest. But yeah, that's all I had to ask for you, Jason. Thank you so much for talking to me, and best of luck with everything in the future.
Thank you so much, Jack. Honestly, I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity for me having to wanting to share my experiences and just try give some sort of words and wisdom, despite the fact that I've said before my season isn't going well, whatever. I think for me personally, I've been able to be transparent with things and not just highlight the glitz and glamour when everything is going right. The fact that I'm openly able to highlight my injuries, the not so good competitions and whatnot. Obviously, I haven't been super consistent with it. And even training videos just to document that journey coming back in time for British champs. I think for me, I've been able to be fully transparent with myself and not just wait for things to get good to be like, oh my gosh, I'm back. This is who I am again. Because for me, that's not a flex. A flex is everything around. I can do so much more with that, but moving forward, but at least I now know that I can be confident with sharing the highs and the lows.
And that's a big step in itself, to realize where you're at and how you're going to move forward from that point onwards. That's and as you said, it's not all glitz and glamour, and I don't think some athletes want to hear that all the time, because that is the reality a lot of athletes face. A lot of athletes get injured all the time, and they've got other full-time commitments that might be stopping them from doing what they want to do with their athletics. So yeah, like people don't want to hear about the highs in athletics sometimes. They want to hear like the real stuff. Essentially, they want to hear about the things that are relatable to them, which is what I think you've done pretty beautifully, to be honest. So yeah, it's honestly, Jason, it's been a pleasure. So thank you so much.